TheTokener Explains, a beginner's guide to developing our own smart contracts using the Solidity programming language on top of the Ethereum blockchain platform. In this episode, we will be creating our first simple smart contract, and we will publish this contract to a locally running virtual copy of the Ethereum blockchain network. To do all this, we will be using a tool called Remix. And Remix is a very nice, easy way to get started with writing some simple smart contracts, because it runs in your browser and you can also interact with your contracts through this through the interface that Remix provides. The drawback of Remix is that it doesn't support some advanced features that we will be using in some later tutorials, but for now it's a very easy way to quickly get started. You can find Remix at remix.ethereum.org, so go there now. And this is what it looks like when you open that page for the first time. Now, instead of using this ballot program, which is pre-filled for us, we will click the cross over here to remove it, because we will be creating our own contract from scratch. In the top left, you can create a new file, name it first contract.sol, and click OK to create this file. Now, type along with what I'm going to type here, and I will explain afterwards what exactly this does. Pragma, solidity, and then a caret, 0.4.24. Contract, first contract. And then we have some carets, and inside here we actually type the content of the contract. You can have multiple contracts in the same file. String public message is I like cookies. Of course, you can type in whatever message you want. Alright, what we've now done is created a very simple contract, or we've written it. We haven't actually published it yet. What the first line does is tell the Solidity compiler, whenever you run it, that you write this contract and expect the compiler to be at least version 0.4.24. If you try to compile it using an older version, you will get an error. And that's really nice, because we will be using some newer features in coming tutorials, and in this way you are sure that your code works as intended, because sometimes the behavior of certain types of commands changes once in newer compiler versions in relation to older compiler versions. Now, so what happens here is that we created this contract, or we start specifying the information of this contract. We have a curly brace here, and everything in between is the body of this contract. Inside this contract, we create one data field, which is called message. Inside this field, we can store string information, which is text. And finally, we write some default value in here, and if we wouldn't provide this, then the default value for a string would be an empty string. And then what we do is add the public keyword here, and that means that Solidity will automatically create a very simple function for us that reads whatever is stored in this data field and returns it to us. And this function will also be known as message. And this way we can actually read what's inside here, which is nice, because we would like to use the contract in some way. Otherwise we would only be able to see that the contract exists, but not what is stored inside. Alright, over here there's a button, start to compile. Let's press that now. You see here at the top that static analysis raised one warning, and this warning, gas requirement is very high, is a quirk that current versions of Remix currently have, and you can ignore that one. Now, after you've clicked the compile button, you can go over to run and then deploy. Make sure that your environment is the JavaScript virtual machine, which is probably pre-selected already, unless you've already installed some of the more advanced tools that we will be using in later tutorials. After you click deploy, then you will see some information here about how Remix communicates with the locally virtual version of the blockchain. Because it's virtual, it goes very quickly. In a real environment, it might take a couple of seconds. And then over here, you see some information about this contract. And it now is deployed somewhere on the blockchain. And you have a button here, named message. And you can click on it to execute the function that we've defined. And this function will actually read the field and return the string, I like cookies. So there you go. We've created a very simple contract. We've compiled it and then published it to locally running a version of the blockchain. Currently it's inside a browser virtual machine of the Ethereum blockchain. And then we've interacted with it using the message command, which we've defined over here. And in this way we were able to see what string is stored inside. Now in the future tutorial we will be expanding on this very simple logic and introduce some more advanced features. That was it for this episode. Leave us a comment, a like, subscribe and ring the notification bell to know whenever new episodes appear. The Tokener Explains is a collaboration between TheTokener and Resilia. If you're interested in the latest cryptocurrency related information and news, go to TheTokener.com. And if you're building your own blockchain related product and have some questions or would like some help, reach out to us at resilia.nl.